join us to talk about her intervention, why, the vilification, she says, of farmers, which has been a prominent feature, she says, of the Otago freshwater debate, and whether or not the claims that localism of local government has been savaged irretrievably by the government's decision, is the Minister for the Environment, Penny Simmonds, and she joins us now. Penny, lovely to have you on, and the first time I've had the opportunity to talk to you, so congratulations on your decision, by the way, on Tuesday afternoon.
Oh, look, it was a good piece of legislation. It's our first real foray into the changes for the Resource Management Act, and it recognises quite rightly that farming, mining and other primary industries are really critical to this country to rebuilding our economy, and so it was taking some of that regulatory burden away that consent applicants had been suffering under. And look, it provided certainty for councils, I think. It made it very clear to councils that there is a new national policy statement on freshwater coming. It will be different, and therefore it is not worth risking the duplication and the additional cost of carrying on trying to satisfy the previous government's one.
Just on that particular issue, you say that that you needed to intervene. I think I've said in your press releases because the industries you've just mentioned would have been under threat. How did you perceive that threat to be? Did you think that this new draft and water plan that Otago Regional Council were going to implement would hinder those particular industries?
Well, look, it was really more that we did perceive that it was going to have restrictions in that wouldn't be required once a new national policy statement has been developed. But more than that, it is that nonsense of notifying something and then within a few months having to amend it. And so it really was all that duplication of work and money that it isn't necessary. And look, it's not, it's been over-dramatised as taking away democracy. We are pausing for a matter of months. So until the new policy statement on freshwater is out, or the end of 2025, whichever comes the sooner. So it was just a clear signal that there will be changes, and therefore it doesn't make sense to notify something under the old regulations.
A number of councillors, but also a number of Labour Party MPs, commentators, particularly I have to say from Radio New Zealand News, you probably are aware of that. The local Runanga representative, Edward Allison, they've criticised that particular decision on the basis they say that the health of Otago's waterways, but in general the health of waterways in New Zealand, will be now compromised and under threat as a consequence of your intervention. What's your answer to that?
Look, there's such a lot of good work going on by the primary sector in improving freshwater ways. No farmers, no horticulturalists, growers are setting out to make our waterways worse. We all want better waterways, but these degradations have been occurring over decades, and so we can't expect to be able to put in regulations that can switch it round overnight. And so it's a matter of getting that balance right, of getting the incremental improvements over time in a way that isn't going to absolutely shut down our economy, because I said right from the start, farming, mining, all our primary industries are absolutely critical to rebuilding New Zealand's economy, and our economy desperately needs rebuilt. We are in a massive amount of debt. We must have our economy growing, but we do it in a balanced way so that we're getting those improvements over time, but not those dramatic shocks that could have had such serious impacts on our primary sector. Some of the things that had come out around wastewater disposal, wastewater discharge, they were going to be absolutely horrendous for existing irrigation users. They were going to make it very difficult for any council to actually be able to approve consents that had been approved for decades. So we can't afford to have those shocks on our primary sector.
Yeah, just to explain to listeners, I'll explain it later after our interview, because that wastewater discharge was fascinating and the reasoning that accompanies it. Listen, the other thing is, though, you intervened. Now, the government it's a rare step to intervene to stop a council doing something. I don't know if it's been done before or not, but it's been done. Why? Did you not trust the Otago Regional Council to make a sensible decision on Wednesday of this week?
Look, we'd had, as you referred to, we'd had a number of meetings and exchanged letters. We had been trying to understand what was driving the sense from the council or from some of the councillors. In the finish, we thought it was important to give that certainty. We knew that there was a great deal of anxiety amongst ratepayers in the Otago Regional Council area, that this was going to impact on them really significantly, and it just didn't seem sensible to be allowing a council to go ahead with something that would have to be amended probably quite significantly within a matter of months. So in the finish, it was to provide that certainty, to get rid of the ambiguity, and to make it clear to all councils across New Zealand that it won't be possible to notify plans prior to getting the new national policy statement out.
Yes, because Otago isn't the only council, is it, that would have been in your concerned file? Taranaki was another one. I think Hawke's Bay was there, Wellington. There were other councils that were looking at Otago and thinking we'll follow their lead if they go down that path on Wednesday.
Look, I think that was certainly part of our decision-making, that it certainly wasn't just Otago Regional Council, but we were aware there were a number of other ones, not all. Most had said, this makes sense, we'll stop. But there were a number of others that were looking and thinking, well, if Otago goes ahead with this and nothing happens, we might as well. So it was just providing that clarity to councils that they shouldn't and now they can't go ahead until the new national policy statement on freshwater is out.
Now that it's over, and I'm not disagreeing with your decision at all, as you know, I've been quite publicly supportive, but now that it's over, and you not so secretly, but I guess it wasn't publicly known that you'd met with regional councillors, yourself and Agriculture Minister Todd McClay last Friday at Momona Airport in Dunedin to try and divine what they were going to do in the minds of the councillors, you're saying. But now that you must have come away from that meeting on that particular Friday clear now that legislation was the only option that you had, yeah? You must have worked out from those conversations that they were going to notify if you didn't intervene.